Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine the transfer saga, right? Everyone's on the edge of their seats, rumors swirling about these huge blockbuster moves. And then just like that, in a brink, it takes a turn absolutely no one saw coming. Today, we're diving deep into exactly one of those, well, bombshells from the football world. And trust us, it's not just what happened, but why it happened that makes this really fascinating. Here at the Deep Dog, our mission is pretty simple. Cut through the noise. We take the most essential insights, from sources like Fabrizio Romano's latest intel, but also looking at club strategies, financial fair play stuff, and we distill it all down into the nuggets of knowledge you actually need. No information overload, just a clear, concise understanding. We want to give you that shortcut to being truly well informed on this whole intricate dance of the football transfer market. Get to the so what's behind the headlines.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here, and I think our sources show this brilliantly, is how negotiations that seem straightforward, I mean, we're talking massive names, huge money, how they can just unravel because of these underlying complexities, things like contract clauses or maybe financial guarantees, player registration, that kind of thing. So yeah, we'll explore the big stories, that surprising contract extension that shocked pretty much everyone, and then the ripple effects, on clubs like Barcelona and Arsenal.
Exactly. And if you're looking for that aha moment, if you want to stay ahead of the curve on what's really driving things in football, make sure you're subscribed to the Deep Dive. We're here to help you get right to the heart of the story, not just the splashy headlines. Okay, so let's kick things up. Fabrizio Romano himself called it the big bomb of the morning, the Nikico Williams story. For months, the whispers got louder and louder, linked him to some of Europe's biggest clubs. Barcelona especially seemed like they were leading the charge. The narrative felt almost written, didn't it? Young talent, explosive winger, off to a global superpower. But then an announcement from Bilbao just changed everything.
It really did. Athletic Bilbao, they made this very special, very clear announcement. Nikico Williams has extended his contract with the club until 2035.
Wait, did you say 2035?
Yep, 2030. That's a 10-year contract.
Wow.
I mean, in today's game, even 4 or 5 years feels like a long-term commitment, a decade. That's extraordinary, almost unheard of.
10 years. It's genuinely astonishing. And it wasn't just, ticking a box with an extension. It felt like a real declaration, didn't it? Basically signaling he is absolutely not going to Barcelona, despite all those strong contacts, all the reports that seemed so certain just days before.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you look at the bigger picture here, it's a massive achievement for Athletic Bilbao.
Yeah.
Huge credit to them. To their director, Mikel Gonzalez, really everyone at the club, top to bottom, they just never stopped believing they could keep him. Even when, the Premier League money came calling, even when a giant like Bayern offered, I think the figure was 12 million net per season, which is staggering.
12 million net. Wow.
Yeah. And Barcelona, of course, pushing hard, but Athletic strategy was just unwavering. They trusted their chances. They kept talking directly to Nikico, basically saying, look, if you're not going, our contract is ready. It's here for you. And that directness, that persistence, plus obviously his connection to the club, it was decisive.
So what does this actually mean then for Nikico himself and for Athletic? This new deal, it's worth more than 10 million net per season for the next decade.
That's the understanding, yes. Over 10 million net for 10 years. It's a huge, huge investment for one of their very best players.
Absolutely.
It's a massive statement of intent from Bilbao. Shows they're determined not just to compete, but to hang on to their identity, their top talent. They clearly believe that this level of commitment is absolutely worth it for a player like him, someone who just embodies that unique club philosophy.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. The plot thickens, as they say. Because once that Bilbao announcement landed, the big question, the one everyone was asking was, why? Why did the deal with Barcelona, which honestly seems so close, why did it collapse? And Fabrizio Romano gives us some really critical insights here. It points to some familiar problems, actually.
It does, and it raises this important point about just the practicalities of transfers, doesn't it? Especially when you're dealing with clubs that have, let's say, specific financial constraints. Our sources are saying Barcelona didn't actually start the summer thinking Nikico was their number one target.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But then, about 3 weeks before the Bilbao news broke, his agent contacted Barcelona, actively offered the player, and crucially, Nikico himself. He was genuinely open to moving to Camp Nou.
And didn't they even get to a verbal agreement on personal terms?
Yeah.
I read something like 7 million net per season for 6 years with Barca. So on the player side, salary-wise, it looked like they were aligned.
That's absolutely correct. The verbal agreement, salary, commission, all that, it was basically done. But here's the crunch, the massive sticking point. And it's a recurring issue for Barcelona, let's be honest. The club never paid the release clause because of this fundamental problem, player registration.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Nikico's camp, his agent, his people, they got nervous. And they started asking for what? Guarantees in paper, like actual written proof.
Exactly. Literal written assurances.
That he'd be registered by the end of August.
Yeah.
Before the window shut.
Yes. And this is key. If Barcelona couldn't guarantee that, couldn't register him by then, they wanted an immediate exit clause. Let him leave as a free agent right away.
Wow. That's a strong demand.
It was non-negotiable for them, according to our sources.
And Barcelona wouldn't accept those conditions.
No, they didn't accept them. And that created significant tension. It just stopped the deal in its tracks. You have to understand, there was genuine fear in Nikico's camp. Understandable fear, really. They worried it could turn into another Dani Olmo situation.
Ah, I remember that. Registration issues there too, right?
Exactly. Olmo eventually got registered, but there were significant delays because of financial fair play stuff. The risk for Nikico's team was just seen as too high. They needed ironclad guarantees. Barcelona couldn't provide them.
So it really wasn't just about the money for Nikico Williams, because Bayern offered him way more, as you said.
Significantly more.
This was about security, about guarantees, certainty that he wouldn't be stuck in limbo somewhere.
Precisely.
And those were assurances that Barcelona, well, given their current financial situation, they just couldn't provide.
Right. And Romano's reporting suggests that after this second deal collapse...
Second? Oh, yeah, nearly happened before, didn't it?
Exactly. Happened a year ago, fell through, happened again now. Romano says the relationship between Nikico and Barcelona is now probably broken. Seems likely irreparable at this point.
Okay, so with Nikico Williams definitively off the table for Barca, what's next for them? They need to pivot, right?
Yeah.
And fast. The window's ticking. Romano highlights a couple of key alternatives they're looking at now.
Yeah, and it's fascinating just how quickly these top clubs have to adapt, isn't it? Even with long-term plans. Barcelona's initial plan for the summer, the one Deco was really driving, it was actually focused on Luis Diaz.
From Liverpool.
That's the one. They apparently approached Liverpool over a month ago, but Liverpool just said no. Flat out, just like they recently said no to Bayern Munich, who also wanted Diaz.
But Barca haven't given up on Diaz, have they? Romano thinks they'll try again.
That's the expectation, yes. Deco started the summer with Diaz as the absolute top target, and apparently that hasn't changed. Liverpool so far has been remarkably firm, basically saying he's not for sale. But yeah, Barcelona is expected to make one more big push this summer. We'll see. But sort of in parallel, there's another interesting name on their list, someone they've been tracking since January, actually.
All right, who's that?
Marcus Rashford.
Rashford from United. Interesting.
Yeah. Apparently he's waiting for options, keeping his ear to the ground. And the word is he would love to go to Barcelona, love to play in Spain, really love to be a Barca player.
Well, that certainly gives Barcelona a potentially very motivated alternative, doesn't it? Okay, let's shift gears. Let's head over to London. Arsenal. It seems like they're juggling quite a few things behind the scenes. It's not just about the big, flashy signings for them, is it? Feels more like strategic long-term planning, balancing different needs.
Absolutely. If you connect the dots, Arsenal is playing a pretty multi-layered game right now. Shows a sophisticated approach, I think. Victor Gyökeres, the Sporting striker, still widely expected he'll leave Sporting this summer.
Right, lots of talk around them.
And Arsenal is actively involved. They're keeping a very close eye on what Romano calls the war between the agents and Sporting. Because that whole complex situation, it's going to decide the final price, the structure of the deal.
Right, these things are rarely simple.
Not at all. Multiple parties, everyone wanting their cut, their best outcome, drives up cost, complexity. So yeah, contacts are definitely continuing for the Swedish striker. That story isn't over yet.
And then there's this really critical focus on their own young talent. Ethan Nwaneri. He's a name we've heard bubbling up for a while. Seems Arsenal knows how important it is to lock him down long term. What's the latest on his contract talks? Is it getting done?
Well, they're definitely in active talks, ongoing discussions with Nwaneri's agents and the player himself, apparently very keen to stay at Arsenal.
Okay, so what's the holdup then?
It raises that question you see more and more now. What's stopping pen going to paper? The core issue, we understand, revolves around game time.
The pathway.
Exactly. His camp wants to really understand Arsenal's concrete plan for him, not just next season, but the upcoming seasons. They need that clarity before committing to a new long-term deal. It's not just about money anymore for these top young players. It's about that clear pathway to senior football.
Makes sense.
The conversations are still active, still positive, but those assurances about his progression, his role, they're absolutely key for everyone involved. It really highlights how clubs aren't just competing for players now, but for who offers the best development pathway.
And finally, just quickly, a significant departure for Arsenal we should mention. Another strategic move, maybe. Takahiro Tomiyasu.
Indeed. Sadly, his contract has been terminated, follows a really long and difficult injury spell for him.
Yeah, he's been out for ages.
Exactly. He's expected back playing football around the end of 2025, so still a full year away. But when he does come back, he won't be an Arsenal player.
Right.
He's now ready for a new chapter, a free agent. It's a clear cut, really. A pragmatic decision by the club. Allows both sides to move on from a tough injury situation. It's just that hard reality of professional sports sometimes, isn't it?
It really is. Okay, so let's recap. We've unpacked that Nikico Williams bombshell.
Yeah.
How loyalty, maybe that unique club identity at Athletic, can actually defy the financial powerhouses.
Yeah.
We dug into the intricate, frustrating reasons for Barcelona's failed pursuit, that recurring registration problem.
Yep, the guarantees they couldn't give.
Exactly. And then looked at their potential pivots, Luis Diaz, Marcus Rashford. And finally, we delved into Arsenal's strategy. Multiple fronts there. Gyökeres still in the mix.
The crucial game time talks for Ethan Nwaneri.
Right. And that pragmatic departure of Tomiyasu. It's just such a complex, constantly shifting landscape, isn't it?
Yeah.
One decision, one unexpected hurdle, and it just ripples through the whole market, forces these quick, sometimes dramatic changes in plans.
It really does. And this deep dive, I think it really highlights how football transfers are just so much more than talent and money swapping hands. It's about these tiny details and clauses. It's about club guarantees, player loyalty, that whole delicate, often really tense dance between agents, clubs, individual ambitions. It makes you think about those unseen hurdles, doesn't it? The bureaucracy, the need for security, how much that dictates outcomes in a game that looks so simple on the pitch. So it raises an important question for you listening in. In this high-stakes game, what actually holds more weight? Is it the player's dream, that heartfelt desire to play for a specific club? Or is it the ironclad assurances their representatives demand to protect their career? What truly tips the balance?
That's a great question. What stood out to you from today's deep dive? Keep thinking about these fascinating layers, the unseen forces always at play in every single transfer saga. Until next time, stay curious.